Welcome to the Phoenix Rise podcast. Claire here, your host, and I'm so happy to have you with us. If you're new here, welcome to the tribe. If you're a newbie, welcome on in. This is the place where we talk all things spirituality, mindset, and business. Yes, I know, and business. Who knew? You get to have it all. There's no sacrifice needed over here. It's spirituality and success. It's 3D and 5D. It's ambition and awakening, because guess what? You're worthy of it all, babe. Now, I'm so excited. I'm trying to fight back the giggles because I've got the most amazing guest for you today. She is a beautiful soul. She is in a mastermind with me, and we are just two of a kind, and I'm just so excited to bring her on. We're going to just see what goodness comes out for you all. We don't know where it's going to go, so if you're listening, trust that you're going to hear something that is meant for you. So Des, please do introduce yourself.
Hi babe, first of all, thank you for having me. Super excited to be here. I'm Desiree, also go by Des or Desi or Hey You, and I am an embodiment and energetics coach is what I say, because it's hard to really encapsulate what I do. But I'm a healer, I'm a transformer, and I'm basically like the Mary Magdalene to your Jesus. So
I like that one.
In the good way. So you get to go do all the big things, and I'm just your healing sidekick to be like, hey, don't forget that you got to take care of yourself.
Oh my God, that metaphor is gold. I love that. Could you think about that? Or is that one that you use a lot?
Yeah, I've really been sitting on like some thoughts around feminine authority lately, and Mary Magdalene has been like, yes, she's kind of been a very big archetype as I go through this. So that's what I've come up with in the last 2 days.
I love it when you just get those like epiphanies, and you're just like, and then for like 2 days, it's everywhere that you go, and you're like, you mentioned it everywhere, like it drops out and you got something else. Yeah. That happens in my world anyway. Yeah. Right, okay, so everyone listening, we've no idea what's going to happen here. Oh God, where do we start? We've got so much that we can talk about. So I'm feeling, what do I want to bring to this conversation? So I really want to talk about, actually, like, let's talk about expansion. Let's talk about like some growing pains, some quantum leaps, because I know me and you are both on a very similar path at the moment. We're both having huge shifts in our business, in our identities, in the way that we're showing up, branding, like all of that. So I just feel like we should start there because it seems like the obvious place to go. So let's share. So we're both part of Nicole's mastermind, Nicole BG. She is our mentor. She is absolutely amazing. So I would love to hear from you, like what brought you into Nick's world, and I'll share what brought me into it. And then let's share like how we've both evolved so far.
I love my story with Nick because it's so me. And like she came into my world, I don't know, maybe like the first or second week of December. I know it was in December sometime. Yeah, we ran into each other on Instagram, and it just was like love at first sight. And I knew as soon as she came into my space, I was like, oh, this is going to be my next coach. Like, I don't know when, I don't know how, I don't know, maybe in like 6 months, once I've reestablished my business and everything, because I was going through that shift of like reestablishing my brand and really just kind of reintroducing myself to my audience. Backstory, I was a health and fitness coach who transitioned to embodiment and energetics. Okay. So I was really just giving my audience a taste of like where we were headed. And Nick came into my world, and we chatted back and forth just like naturally for a couple of weeks. And then 2 days before the mastermind started, she slid in my DMs and she was like, you should come to the mastermind. And that was it. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, it's like the pull.
Yeah. And then obviously you've been around since then, Claire, so you've seen what's happened since then. But yeah, we were just kind of, it was love at first sight. And yeah, I knew. Yeah. She got me earlier than I thought, though, for sure.
I love this. And this is such a testament, right, to you guys listening. Like when you don't have to always know that you're looking for something. So I wasn't kind of in the market for a mentor or for a mastermind at the time. Like I'd just come out of like my last one, and I was kind of like having a little not sabbatical, but I was just kind of like, having a moment and just taking it in, just recalibrating and finding really where I wanted to go next. And again, Nick came into my world just very organically on Instagram. And I felt exactly the same. As soon as I saw her, I was like, fuck. I was like, she is my next coach. And I specifically remember thinking those words. Mm-hmm. And I think my journey was very, very slightly different in that I think I reached out, or I commented on one of her posts or something like that. And I was just like, look, I'm manifesting working with you. Like, and do you know the funny thing is, I think when we do things like that, it's really our higher self, like trying to get us to make the move, right? But at the time, I was too in the fear, I was too in the ego, and I was just like, not right now, not right now. I've just stretched myself like a lot, and I don't know if I'm kind of ready for another like financial commitment. And so yeah, the higher self kind of stepped in, put it out there to the universe, and she was like, how about now? Just like, fuck again. But in the best way, because it was just like exactly what I needed. And it was like, why am I waiting? Why am I putting off my dreams any longer? Why am I making all these excuses? And the most, not funniest thing, but like the most ironic thing I find is the excuses that we give ourselves, right? And I was like, at that time, I was kind of like, well, the coaching thing hasn't really taken off yet. I don't really know what I want to do. Like, I don't really want to do one-to-one coaching. I know I've got a big mission. Obviously, I've got other businesses as well. And I was like, I don't really know where I'm at. And I remember saying, I don't really have the money. Mm-hmm. And I tried that one too. It was kind of true on one side, because in my coaching world, it wasn't coming in yet. But my other businesses are quite successful. So like there was money there. So it was like that mentality, right? Of like any excuse to like keep me exactly where I am. And then she didn't even, I don't even know what she said, but she said something. And I was just like, paid straight away. And I was like, well, obviously I had the money, or I wouldn't have just been able to do that. It's like these excuses that we give ourselves. Absolutely. So like, how does that come up for you or your clients, or is that something that you find?
Oh, it totally did. It happened with Nick. Yeah. Because I, again, was kind of just starting to put myself back out there. So I had just signed a new client, but I hadn't even actually made the money yet. Like the payment date was a week from that day. And so I was in a place where, sure, I had a side hustle. I work with a brand and marketing agency on the side. And so I get paid hourly. So that's like my stability and safety there, so that I can really expand through my own biz.
Yeah, I love that.
But I wasn't at a point that I felt comfortable to make that financial investment. But I don't remember exactly what she said either, but she did say something so poignant that like, what I had just said to her was completely invalid. Like I experienced a small quantum leap in that moment.
Yes. Oh my God.
And I was like, oh snap. Like I have to talk to Tyler about this. Tyler's my boyfriend. And we figured it out, and like, it's been fine. I tried to stress myself out about it, and it hasn't been a stressor at all. And I think that we really deny our higher selves, like you were saying, when we come to this fork in the road. And I realize too, it's when we're doing new things. It's not when we're doing things that we've done before, because we know how they're going to pan out. We trust ourselves in that situation, right? That's how you gain confidence and trust, is by just doing the thing over and over. But once we move into the next step, like this is new. I know that whatever is going to come after this, nothing's going to be the same.
Yes.
It's like you have your old self and your higher self, the devil and the angel, if you will, right? And like one's going to pull you back, one's going to pull you forward. And no matter what happens after that decision, you know that like it's not going to be the same. Even if the one is pulling you back, like it's still not going to be the same. You're going to experience a different type of pain. It's probably going to feel a little deeper because you're not honoring yourself in the process, like your higher self.
Yeah.
And I
Oh
think
my
when
God, I
we
love
feel
that
that
so much.
pull from our higher self, we have to honor it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the conflict just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And we're sitting here like, why am I so miserable with myself when everything's
Yes.
fine? But are you honoring your highest self? Like that call, that whisper, that little tickle in the back of your head that's like, hey, dude, you're meant for more.
Yeah. And what I find is that whisper, it just gets louder and louder and
Yeah.
louder to the point where like you cannot ignore it anymore.
Eventually, she's got like a microphone and she's like,
Oh
hello.
my God, she's got a fucking tannoy. She's like broadcasting.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we can't ignore, well, we can ignore it, but you can't ignore it forever because it will get to the point where that niggle becomes like a full-on like shake. And it's like trying to wake you up. It's like you can't keep doing this shit, right? You can't keep living your life denying yourself of what you know you're capable of, what you know you're worthy of, what you know you're here to do. And yet we just make all of these excuses and all of these kind of reasons why it isn't possible. And it's like, how about if we flip that and we start making all these reasons for why it is possible?
Yeah.
And why it is more than doable, and it's more than like it's more than something that you're capable of. It's something that you're meant for, right?
Yes.
Like it's your soul's calling.
Yeah.
How can you possibly fail at it? Because it's what you're here to do.
Yeah. My theme this week with clients has been, it's not about how, it's about who. They keep
Oh my
coming
God,
to me,
yes.
how. And I'm like, stop. No, I'm not going to tell you how. You know why? Because I don't even really know how, babe, but I just know if that's what you're meant to do, if that's your calling, then I'm going to help you chase it and we're going to get
Yes.
there. But
Oh
it's
my
about
God.
who you're becoming on the way there. Like, are you working towards becoming your highest self? Are you walking towards her every day? Because that's who's calling you to get there.
Yes. Oh my God, I love this. And I did a post literally this week, like, because obviously I've claimed my
I
seven-figure
think
year.
we might have made the same post even, Claire.
Oh my God, it wouldn't surprise me. Like, I've claimed my seven-figure year. I've put it out there. And like in the past, if I ever made bold statements like that, there's always that element of doubt, right? And I think you can really tell when you truly believe it or not, because it would be okay if I'm making plans for 6 months' time. Am I planning for the same situation as what I'm in now, or am I planning for something bigger? And that is always like the giveaway. And now my daughter's asking me things. It's her 18th this year, right? Oh my God, in the end of July. And she's like, like what can we do for my 18th? And if she had asked me that a few months ago, I was like, well, let's wait till nearer the time and kind of see where we're at. Let's just like take it day by day. And now I'm like, fucking Barbados, Bahamas, like wherever oyster, girl, like wherever you want to go, because I'm so in my power now. I'm so in the identity of the woman that is living that. It's not a possibility anymore. It's inevitability. But, and this is what I want you guys to listen to as we're saying this, I'm not focused on the how. I am not focusing on the how. I am releasing the timeline. Yes, I've said this year, but that could happen in 364 days. It could happen tomorrow, right? I'm releasing that, and I'm releasing any tangible results between now and then as to what that means about my success. And I am just focusing on the who the fuck I need to be each and every day, what actions I'm taking, what decisions I'm making, what thoughts I'm thinking, all of that stuff. And this is what it's all about, right? It's not about the how.
No, it's really not. Because I think all of us, especially as business owners, if we've been an entrepreneur for more than like 6 months, we've probably taken some kind of course that gives us some kind of framework that is actually buildable. Like, we're not saying framework isn't needed, right? Like, sure, that's an important part of the business. But a lot of us are out here trying to run off of framework, trying to build and scale and do unconventional, wild shit with framework that people have been using for hundreds of years at this point, you guys. If you keep following the same business framework, you're gonna get the same results as everybody else. What a concept.
Yes. And I always say, like, if it was all about strategy, right? And again, we're not saying you don't need strategy. Like, you absolutely do, but it's like such a minute part of the puzzle. But if it was all about strategy, every single entrepreneur would be a millionaire.
Right. And this is a part of my story I haven't shared as much, but I get to dive into this year because of my own goals. And that is the fact that I spent almost a decade as a dental assistant, and not just a dental assistant, but usually a lead dental assistant or the office manager. So I worked very closely with these doctors. Dentists make millions of dollars a year. Easily, okay? Yeah, easily. All of them make at least $1 million. Like all of the doctors I ever worked for made at least $1 million a year or more. And yet they were some of the most miserable people I ever was around. And I had like very difficult relationships with these doctors. In the sense that like they couldn't hear my advice because I wasn't a millionaire, but yet there was a part of me that they looked up to. There was a part of me that they admired, and that was my creativity. That was my ability to be multifaceted, my ability to be in my feminine, which obviously in America, in business in general, we've gone so far to the masculine that like nobody knows what to do without framework, right? We're all like, I don't know, I need strategy. And it's like, not really. We have enough strategy. What you need to be is yourself and follow your calling. And with every single doctor that I worked with, and these are like, you know, brick and mortar entrepreneurs, like old OG entrepreneurs, like even with all of the money they were making, they still were stressed about money. So it wasn't about the money, right? Like it wasn't about the strategy or the how. They weren't happy with who they were.
It's like selling your soul for money, isn't it? And this is, yeah. And this is, I think, you know, I think everyone in our world, to be honest, we're all on such a same kind of path as it's not about it's not about the money. Yes, the money is great, and we're firm advocates of loving money. You know, there's nothing taboo about it, but it can't be the driver. It has to be the byproduct. It has to be the result of how much impact you're making, like how much service you're being of, like how many people you're here to help. And, you know, a lot of people, obviously, I've just started talking about this millionaire movement, right? And I'm not a millionaire yet. Right? It's out there. I'm not a millionaire. I'm not ashamed of that. I'm not ashamed of that because I know that it's inevitable for me. But this is about more than the money. It's about the movement. It's about how many women can we say, yes, I'm claiming this. Yes, I refuse to feel shame around wanting money or feeling like, you know, I like the 3D material stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. But it is the byproduct of service. So this is about, this is the millionaire movement in a soul-led way, right? Yeah. What is your soul here to do? I'm not saying go and take your clothes off and dance around for hours because that's going to give you loads of money. I mean, if that's your thing, go for it. But that's not what this is about. This is about what is your purpose? Yeah. When you step into that, the abundance will follow. But we have to feel worthy of it first, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, working with all these doctors, like a lot of these doctors were doctors because their dad was a dentist. Yes. So they became a dentist, or their parents wanted them, right? We always feel the need, like when we go to college, especially because our parents are usually helping us. It's like, okay, well, I have to choose to do something that's going to make them happy. I remember working for this one young doctor. He was like fresh out of school. His first year of practice, he made over $1 million. He was one of the dentists that like I still recommend people to in that area, even though I haven't worked with him for years. And we had a pretty bad falling out. I left, but his dental work is great. But he had a knack for art. And I mean like ceramics, like beautiful. Like I walked into his office and I was like, who made these vases? I thought they were like professional art pieces. Oh. He made them. And he would bring his art to work that he made at home sometimes. And I would be like, dude, why don't you go become an artist? Like you have the free time, you have the money. He just had him and his dog at the time. He's like, oh, my dad would never support me. A 30-year-old man said to me, who's making over $1 million a year, said to me that he was driving a Subaru when his dream car was a Porsche, and he was being a dentist instead of an artist because his father thought that was what was best. And I was just like, man, like there's no sense of who he is for himself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And how many of us live our lives like for someone else, right? And even if it's not your parents, it's like we're showing up on Instagram, or we're showing up in our socials and our content, in our brand, as someone who we think we should be. Yeah. As someone who we think
all the time.
Like,
and we don't even mean to do it sometimes.
No.
Yeah.
No. It's so funny because like this last quantum leap that I had, which has been like really recent. So for you guys listening, it's like 9th of February. So this is like been the last couple of weeks.
We're still processing.
Yeah. But like beginning of the year, I thought that even in that time, I was stepping into my power, right? I was like, this is it. And then it's like, boom, no, this is it. And that will happen again and again and again because we're always evolving, right? We're always elevating, we're always growing. But each time you do that, you look back and you see like I don't know, Nick calls them like the leaks, right? You see like where you weren't truly in your power. And like, I did a free masterclass that I recorded yesterday just on a whim, like just downloaded to me, like the brand disruption. But in it, I was talking about, you know, you think you're being in your power, you think you're being authentic, you think you're being the leader. But when you look back, you know, you can't join the dots going forward. So you can only do it looking back. And when you look back and you look over, you know, your content or whatever it is, and you can see in your eyes, like I think, like you can see the difference between the true belief and the fake confidence.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what I was talking about. Like in this masterclass yesterday, I was just like, you know, you can do the pose, but the eyes are going to give it away because energy doesn't lie.
The energy,
yeah, and you just can't fake that. You can't fake that shit. You know,
you can't. Yeah,
able to, but you can't.
Yeah. Oh man, I know. It's funny. I made a reel yesterday that was about identity work, right? Because I do a ton of identity work with my clients, and I have had so many questions in my DMs this week from people. Again, the how, right? Like, how do you keep your boundaries? How do you stick to your standards? How do you one of the questions I've gotten like 3 of this week is, how do you not let people affect the way that you act with them, right? So how do you not let those projections absorb and then you respond the same way you always have? Yeah. And I'm like, but guys, that's the thing. It's not about how, it's about who. Who am I being? Yeah. And who am I desiring to become? And how is that person not expect to be treated, but what standards does she have? Like, what does she operate in on a day-to-day basis? Yeah. What does she allow from herself? Because that's also going to be what I allow from everybody else. So it's not about like me setting a certain boundary or saying certain words in a certain way that like I've got everybody tricked and I've reverse psychologied everybody and now they're doing what I want them to. No, it's just, I'm just very firm and certain about who I am and what I allow and don't allow for the treatment of my soul anymore.
Yes. Oh my God, I love that so much. And do you know, I have a similar thing. So a lot of people ask me about leadership, right? Because that's one of the things I talk about a lot. And it's like, how do I become a better leader? How do I gain more authority? How do I show, you know, more leadership in my content or whatever it is? And it's like, again, it's not the how, it's the who. And so many of these people, they're only showing the good, right? Yeah. They're only showing the success. Yeah. I don't know their failures. I don't know what got them from where they were to where they are now. I don't know their story. I don't know their bad days because they hide all of that. And it's like when you start showing us all of you in your power, not in victim mode, but in your power, that is when you will elevate your leadership. You have to be self-led first because otherwise you're not a leader. You're just someone who is talking a lot.
Yeah. Our inner authority. That's another thing I've been talking about lately with clients. All of my clients are women right now who want to create a business. And I don't know if it's that they necessarily want to leave their 9-to-5 quite yet, but they do want to create a soul-led business. And I've been telling all of them, like, you have to really identify your authority, babe. And especially, again, as women, right? Like, and this is something I even, again, watched doctors do. Like, female dentists would come into the practice and they would try to practice the same way as the male dentist who they were working under. And I'm like, but babe, like, your feminine authority, that's another new word that's come to me this week. Your feminine authority has its own power. And by use, not just suppressing that, but then trying to take on the mask of this toxic masculine authority that we have moving through society right now, like, it's so foreign. And that's why you feel so foreign in that chair, because you are not being yourself. And as a feminine, we have a natural intrinsic way of caretaking and of nurturing. And the person in the chair can sense when that is not.
Yes.
Again, energy doesn't lie, right? So like, we know when that is not real. And we have to, as women, really tap into that feminine authority and learn how to not just utilize our feminine energy to be like soft and sweet, but also like stand in that power, because there's power in that softness. There's power in that sweetness. Listen, baby girl, we wouldn't be able to tempt all of the men in the world with this body if there was no power in it, okay? Like, there would not have been wars over women if there was no power in who we are.
Yes. But oh my God, right. This is so juicy. And I don't want to take up much longer of your guys' time, but this is so juicy because this really reminds me of, so I talk a lot about, so one of my businesses is in the corporate world, right? And that's my background in the corporate industry before I became an entrepreneur, like a million gazillion years ago. But it's that same thing. And what I would see, and this was like my early 20s when I was working for other people, but what I would see is, again, these toxic men, like trying to lead in whatever way that looked to them. It was not what's the right word? Not the best way. But then women trying to replicate it and feeling like if they show any emotion, if they show any vulnerability, any humanness, you know, it's like they're not respected. They lose their authority. They lose their leadership. And this is exactly what I see translate into the coaching world as well, right? It's like a lot of women feel like they have to be in that masculine. They can't drop the mask. They can't show their true heart, their true emotions, because that makes them weak. And it's like, it's the opposite. It's your superpower. It's what makes you a warrior, right? It's what makes you amazing. But you have to own it. You can't kind of try and take on these toxic masculine roles that aren't meant for you anyway. That's why you feel like an imposter. It's why you feel like, you know, never kind of at ease, because you're trying to put on this mask.
And it's in that authority that we find, that's where we really find like how to set our standards, how to set our boundaries, how to speak with, lack of a better word, authority, but like to really self-lead, right? That's how we find that, is tapping into that inner authority. But we have to be willing to, and again, we've been in a society, in a work world for how many decades, where we've just kind of we've all been running on the same programming. And so we have to do the work to undo the programming on ourselves, so then we can help everybody else undo the programming.
Exactly. And it's like, this is what your people are waiting for, right?
Yeah.
It's like, this is what your community, your audience, your clients are literally waiting for. Like, they're watching you and they're waiting for that moment, and they don't even know what it is, but they're waiting to feel the thing. They're waiting to feel the thing. And they will only feel the thing when you become the thing. Like, when you step into that and you embody that and you show that, and they're like, I feel it. And no one even knows what the fuck happened. It's just that like merriment of like supernova exposure, right? And it's like, boom, it's time.
Yep.
I don't know what that was. I just went on like a crazy rant.
Boom. Like, yeah.
Oh my God, it was so much fun. Right, okay. Guys, I feel like I could just talk to you forever. I love you so, so much. Where can everyone find you?
Instagram is my number one. That's like my billboard, you guys.
And it is a hell of a billboard. I tell you now, go and check them out.
We have lots of fun over there. Get pretty sexy over there. But I am Desiree Lakeisha. So I'll make sure also to send Claire all the notes and everything so she can tag me and whatnot. And then you can also find me here and there on Threads. I'm slowly finding my way back. I know. I've not
really dabbled over that yet.
But I'm working my way back into the podcast and everything. So yeah, if you guys want all the details on that, just make sure you stay tuned on my Instagram because that's where it's all at.
Amazing. And make sure you go and follow Des. She is an absolute powerhouse. So I will put all the notes in the show notes below. I was like, that's right. All the details in the show notes below. Des, thank you so much. I love you so much. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. We were so excited to get started. It took us like 10 minutes to get it all out.
You are most welcome. And until next time, guys, I will see you all soon.